This is the New York City FC Pregame Live. Tonight, New York City head back on the road to take on the Chicago Fire. And now, here are your hosts, Glenn Crooks and Matty Lawrence.
And we're in lovely Chicago, Illinois, downtown Soldier Field, christened in 1924. Well, Matty Lawrence turned 50 recently. He wasn't around for that, but he has aged nicely, as has this stadium. It did undergo a refurbishing in 2003. Home of the NFL Chicago Bears, one of the original NFL franchises, but also sharing the facility, the Chicago Fire, and they will host New York City FC on a Saturday night in Major League Soccer. And there he is, the ancient Matt Lawrence. My name is Glenn Crooks. I'm older, so I don't know what I'm talking about. But how you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Yeah.
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling quite confident today, which is probably not good because I'm the ultimate pessimist. So if I'm feeling confident, there's big problems ahead. But yeah, look, this is gorgeous surroundings in terms of the stadium itself, but also the city as a whole. I think quite often we come here either late in the season, sort of September, October, or early in the season, March.
It's always
and
been,
it's freezing, and obviously the windy city, it's cold, and I've always taken quite a dislike to Chicago, but I got up relatively early today. I walked around Lake Michigan, not the whole of Lake Michigan, I hasten to add, just a little bit of it, looked back on Chicago, and it was, it's gorgeous and beautiful, as is so many cities or towns. They look totally different in the summer to in the winter, so I shouldn't have been surprised. I'm welcoming these surroundings.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your walk today because I went out last night and walked around towards the water. Did you hear the cicadas?
I didn't. I think that's a nighttime thing more than
No, I went out again today and they weren't as prevalent, but what an interesting creature. They only appear every 17 years, and this is the year where Chicago, and in different parts of the country, in different parts of their existence, really interesting. Now, occasionally, look, Wilfred Nancy had a rant last week about the 2-minute injury rule.
He was right.
I'm going to rant about cicada killers. Do you know what they are? You have any idea?
Cicada killers? No, I don't know what they are.
So they look like bees. They're about that big, and they look menacing, like they're going to come and get you. But they don't go after humans. But what they do is they destroy. We have a lawn in Central Jersey, a back and a front yard, and they massacre. What they do is they kill the cicadas. They dig these big holes, and there's these mounds that are all over your lawn, and some businesses, some golf courses. I mean, there's really, it doesn't seem like there's any way to treat it. But I'm an anti-cicada killer kind of guy because they destroy your lawn. But they take the cicadas, they put them down, and they, for food. It's really a remarkable thing, but I don't like them anyway.
And so what is the system that the cicada killer plays? Do they play the 4-4-2 system, these cicada killers? I'm trying to just get it in with the football.
I think the only system is that it's a symbiotic relationship, which I think, in football, there's some symbiotic synthesis or something. I don't know where to go with that.
Hey,
so anyway.
We're done with the killing, the killers of any kind, and we should move on to the metaphorical.
Yeah, you're always anxious for me to move on. You don't like me telling my stories, Matty. There's the starting lineup in the lower third. If you're just listening to us, New York City contemplated and truly contemplated because they showed it in training on Thursday, playing 3 at the back because of the injury situation. But they will go 4 at the back with Thiago Martins, the captain, and Strahinja Tanasijevic will be next to him, with Micha Ilinic on the right. Tavon Gray is out, and Christian McFarlane making his second professional appearance, Major League Soccer first team, and his first start. And so we'll we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment. One of the things I wanted to share, so we didn't miss it, was this guy. So I went to training this week, and I was stunned. I was sitting there doing some work in this area where we took the picture, and that's Malachi Jones. He is 10 days out of surgery, suffering a fractured tibia and fibula. He's got a rod in his leg, and he was walking, and I swear there wasn't much of a limp. And he's already on a bike, and he's already getting himself going, and you see the big smile because that's what he does.
Yeah.
And, it was really something to see, and he's befriended Mason Stridahar, who underwent compound surgery on the tibia and fibula and is much worse shape, but he's connected with him and is going to keep updated with him because they're together forever, after that collision, right?
Yeah, and look, lucky is not the right word, but
yeah,
Malachi Jones got lucky in that collision. He was the luckier of the two. It started how with anything compound, obviously the bone comes out of the skin. It's much more complicated, much more prevalent to obviously infection. I'm not surprised that Malachi Jones with a clean break, even though it's of the two bones. I'm not surprised that he's up and about already. I was lucky enough in my career, 16 years, never to have a broken leg. I broke toes, I broke fingers, broke nose, my nose numerous times, but never a shin bone. But players that I played with came back very quickly if it was a clean break, if it was not compound.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me. And I'm not putting a time frame on it, but it wouldn't surprise me if he was back and playing in 4 or 5 months' time.
In our conversation, that was part of it. And he said, don't be surprised if I'm playing by the end of the year. And that's it was surprising to me, but then you probably know about it much better than I. I want to make one alert here is that apparently Roberto Abramowitz on the Spanish side, they do a pregame live just like this, but before us. And sometime during the course of the week, Twitter or X upgraded, or you have to get a premium service in order for a live stream to play on X or on Twitter, the former Twitter. So if, and I'm looking at our numbers and I know they're low.
Absolutely the case.
So here's the thing. So if you're listening and you have to help me out because I'm on the air here. If you're listening, this is where we'll get an assist from the audience.
Yeah.
If you're watching or listening and could just put out a tweet guiding people to either my YouTube page or my Facebook page or the New York City FC Facebook page. So we're running on those 3 outlets, and that would be great if somebody could help us out. If not, we'll just play to a smaller audience today and then sort it out. We just found this out. So
look, it's a shame to play to a smaller audience. We're not robots, are we? We'd love to be performing, same as anybody, to as many people as possible.
Well, especially the last game at Austin with all the delays, we really provided a public service in a way.
We did because we let the listener, the viewer, know exactly what was going on. Yeah, it's a shame, but we'll get this rectified, Glenn. We know that. With the help of Roberta, with the help of NYCFC, the football club, and their guys, the communication and social media team behind the scenes, we will get this rectified. And first and foremost, Glenn, we've got to be hoping for 3 points here. We don't mind how many people are listening in, how many people are watching. This is all about NYCFC getting 3 points on the road because they need it. 3 points away from home. They're playing against. In my opinion, and as you look down the league table, the conference standings, if you will, this is a very poor Chicago side that NYCFC are playing against. Everything that goes before us says that. Yes, I know they've won the last 2 home games, but previous to that, they'd only picked up 2 points in their previous 6 home games. They'd failed to score in 4 of the previous 6 home games. They'd only scored 2 goals and conceded 10. This is a bad team. This is a bad team at home. Winning the last 2 home games does not paper over the cracks that this is a bad team. They're a bad team. It's what we've seen for the last 4 or 5 years. They've conceded too many goals and they finished out of the playoffs 22, 23, 24, actually 2021, 2022, 2023, and I guarantee 2024 they will finish outside the playoffs as well.
Well, New York City's been dominant in the overall series, never has lost a home game, and are 3-3-4 away from the five boroughs against the Chicago Fire. Pretty interesting on the road. So New York City lost 2-1 at Austin last week. On the road, they had gone 10 games without a loss after scoring the first goal.
Yeah.
And they did score the first goal just 5 minutes in, and this is how you heard it on the New York City FC network. He's able to save it before it crosses the goal line. Back to Gray. Curls the cross in, and a first-time shot and goal for Andres Pereira to open the scoring in the 5th minute. And New York City again scoring early in the match. This one on the road. Wonderful between Hannes Wolf, Tavon Gray, and then the first-time finish by Andres Pereira as he wanted it more than any Austin defender.
Yeah, he did. Look, it's far too easy for Hannes Wolf just to get to the byline. Zero pressure. He just rolls it back 5 yards to Tavon Gray. Again, no pressure from O'Brien. Let's Tavon Gray just feed a ball into the area. Yes, it's a good cross, Glenn, but any professional footballer should be able to cross the ball when they're totally unopposed. But give Pereira credit. All about that heart, the hunger, desire to get to the ball first, and he just volleys it home. It's a terrific move, but so simplistic, Glenn. They did not lay a glove on them, Austin FC. What are they doing? What are they thinking?
And the unfortunate part there is another quality service from Tavon Gray, his 5th assist of the season. But 7 minutes later, he went down with a hamstring injury. And the interesting part of the story there is Kevin O'Toole, and you noticed it first, was suffering. And Mitja Ilinic then went into this vigorous warm-up. But when Gray got hurt, and he really couldn't move to any extent where he could remain on the field, then Kevin O'Toole came over and said, all right, I'll play till the half, which is what he did. And Gray came out and Ilinic went in. And then Justin Hack plays left back in the second half as O'Toole comes out. So Gray and O'Toole are unavailable. But good finish by Pereira, good start for New York City. And when you look at the game overall, it was not a poorly played game, but 2 poor goals were surrendered.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a pretty good away performance, considering what had gone before, considering the travelling, considering the heat, considering the injuries. But that doesn't matter, does it? You may as well have lost 1,000,000. You still lost the game. It's 2-1. I know, yes, I'm being slightly facetious. 1,000,000 affects your goal difference. But that's it. You still get no points. You're left with no points. And they were 2, for me, horrific goals to give away, Glenn, at vitally important times in the game. If NYCFC go in at half-time 1-0 up, they get something out of that game. It may only have been a point, but they get something out of that game. Of course, I can't guarantee it because we don't know. I'm being hypothetical here. I believe they would have gained something out of this game, but they were deflated going in at half-time. They were deflated going in at half-time, and Austin win the ascendancy. Everything pointed to Austin running, not quite running away with that game, but certainly getting the 3 points.
This is our view of from our radio booth. It's a good angle of being able to present and paint the pictures for you. Although if either of the goalkeepers punt the ball high into the air, we will not be able to see it until it comes down. And punting, of course, at Soldier Field. You know, we could talk about Soldier Field a little bit. It was just I walked up here earlier today just to take a walk. We're only a mile from the hotel. And I'm nostalgic when it comes. I like stadiums, you know, and
me too.
And I really, I'm always distressed when stadiums that have that romantic quality get torn down, and you know, another thing gets constructed. But this, what they did here is they maintained that outside area with the columns. And so you have that look when you approach the stadium. But I'm Glenn Crooks, Matty Lawrence, Nick Cushing also, as you'll hear on the pregame show coming up at 8:15 Eastern on NYCFC.com/radio. Agreed with you, Matt, that those goals were really poor that were conceded. And I kind of harped on Mitja Ilinic not closing down the server on the Jossie Zardes. Zardes, by the way, scored his first 2 goals of the season. His brace is the reason that New York City lost the match. All time against the Fire again. New York City, 11 wins, 3 losses, 6 draws, all 3 of those losses on the road. And the other thing we've been, we talked about now, we're not on Twitter or X because apparently we have to upgrade, which, by the way, I will go on the record and say I am not paying for premium. We're going to sort this out in another way. I'm not doing it. So we'll figure it out, and we're going to have to guide everybody to YouTube and Facebook from now on instead of Twitter. Person that's not going to be here on the Chicago side, Matty, is Xherdan Shaqiri, the Swiss international, who was at the Euros. But we recall he left really early, like earlier than anyone to go. And after he left, Chicago went 5 games unbeaten, including a 4-3 win, very dramatic win here at Soldier Field against Philadelphia. They were down in that game 3-1 and came back to win 4-3. So, they've scored maybe more frequently without Shaqiri. But Frank Klopas is the head coach. And Shaqiri was not at training this week, so one of the local members of the press asked Frank Klopas about Shaqiri, and the question was pretty directly, is he coming back this season?
The season's a long time ago. This season, yes. No, I mean, I've been in communication with Shaq since when he left. Always, wishing the player the best of luck in every match with his for him and obviously with Switzerland. Look, he just finished the major tournament, and it's normal that he's going to have a little bit of a break. That's normal with players. I think when you look at his team reaching the quarterfinals, and so it's normal. We haven't yet decided on the date that he will be back in Chicago, but it's very normal after a major tournament and, being away early and with the travel and everything and international games that he's going to have some time off, and we're still deciding when that return date will be. We'll keep you guys posted. We talked about this, today. When would be the best time for him to come back, and how much time. I think it's proper to give him a little bit of a break. If we don't have him for this game, which obviously he's not going to be here for NYCFC, and then you have a midweek game Wednesday and Saturday, and then we have that break. So that's really the decision that we have to really think about and see, do we bring him before those games? How does, and I think that's the most important thing. For this one is off. It's just a matter of time of deciding in the next couple of days, when do we bring him back?
Yeah, well, look, I've gotten to know Frank because he was on the radio side with the Fire when we first started this, so got to know him really well. Then when he went on board, I've had him on my Sirius XM show, the Coaching Academy. And if I were to talk to Frank now, I would say, Frank, just don't bring him back before the Leagues Cup starts, and then that'll be the time where you can sort out maybe how to, manufacture his exit, or something. That would be my suggestion. I don't know how that.
Or talk to Homeland Security. He's got to get in. So.
Or will he come back? Will he want to come back too?
No,
it's really up in the air. He
doesn't want to come back. He never wanted to be here. He wanted to take the money, but judging by his performances on the pitch, he never wanted to be here. I absolutely guarantee. I went on record before he even came here. Well, then when there was the talk of him coming here, I said it would be a bad sign. I said he would not try. I said he would stand in the middle of the pitch, and when he received the ball, he'd try and play, but he would not play on both sides of the ball. And he's another Bernardeschi. He's another Insigne. He's another one of those players who is here for the money and for the holiday and for nothing else. And, that is only my opinion, but, everything that's gone before proves that pretty much to be true.
What a wonderful segue here, which you're not even aware of. So I don't prep Matty at all for this. No. We just go and I
it's off the cuff,
break him loose, and and then I chuckle or smile based on his responses. David Lee, sporting director of New York City FC. Roberto and I sat with him for our podcast, NYCFC Views, this week. You saw also the outfield. Hudson River Blue did as well. They made David available to the local media. And the question here was, leading into the stadium opening in 2027, is it important to bring a high-profile player in? So here was David Lee's response.
There have been enough examples of big name players coming to MLS and not helping their teams win. And there have been examples of big name players that do help their team win. But I think it is very easy to get the wrong player. And if you get the wrong player, it can hurt you for 4 or 5 years and not enable you to be as successful in that period. So whenever we talk about this or think about pursuing this, it has to make sense on and off the pitch in order to commit the type of resources that it costs to acquire and pay one of these again, quote, big name European players. I will always go back to our 2021 season. We had no big name players, and we brought the first trophy home. And so I don't think it is a necessary part of squad building for New York or for any team. I'm sure Will in LA won't mind me saying, like, if you look at LA Galaxy, right? Will's a close friend. LA Galaxy's DP strategy from the outside historically had been based on which big name players that you could get to generate interest, and then hopefully they help on the pitch. And Chicharito definitely did, no doubt. But they now shifted to Gabriel Peck and Joseph Paintsil as their DPs, and their performance level has dramatically improved. And so I think there are examples where signing a big name doesn't necessarily help you win. It's not a straight correlation causation. Let's sign a big name player and they'll help win. Messi is one of one I've ever seen. Like, if you can sign Messi, he helps you win almost every football game that he plays in because he's that good. But he is one of one, and so I think it is a challenge, but it's something that we've never said we're opposed to ever, and I've never ever said that I'm opposed to it, or that we as a club or an organization are as opposed to it. It just has to be the right one at the right time in order for it to make sense for us.
Well, does make sense, right? Because the other thing he addressed along with that is that when you're, opening a new stadium or you're in the metropolitan area, you're trying to do what's good for the team and what's also good for business. Yeah. But he doesn't think that there'll be any issue filling that stadium up with 25,000 in 2027.
Yeah, look, Brad, you know that I'm not somebody to shy away from my opinions. I'm not shy of disagreeing with whether it's Nick Cushing, whether it's David Lee, whoever it may be. Here, this occasion, I agree absolutely with every single word David Lee says there. There is not a necessity to have a DP, but if the opportunity arises to get a DP that is going to produce, then you should bring him in. But that's an impossibility to know that a DP is going to produce. But I do think if you do your due diligence, if you do background checks, if you talk to former teammates, former managers, former scouts, that you will bring in the right person. NYCFC know only too well. Pirlo and Lampard, in my opinion, were failures. David Villa was an absolute success story. I bet that if you went and talked to all of David Villa's former teammates in training, all the defenders, not a single one of them would ever have wanted to play against David Villa in training, let alone on a match day. Right. I bet that people would have thought a little bit differently maybe about a Lampard and a Pirlo, certainly at the latter stages of their career. You saw it in their output, surely in terms of workload and hunger and desire, Glenn. If let's just talk about NYCFC, because that's where we are. Villa was an undoubted success story. The other two, not failures.
There's truth in that, and that leads us into Ferran Soriano. Now, he's the CEO of Man City, but also New York City FC. And, Matty, I pulled this out because I remember I've been saving it. It's from 3 years ago after New York City won MLS Cup, and he was involved in a bit of a roundtable, and he talked about roster strategy, and this kind of piggybacks with David Lee and yourself.
There was a logic of what happened before with star players coming, and I can talk about NYCFC. David Villa and then Pirlo and Lampard, they did help us a lot. So remember, this club was born from nothing, from scratch. The club did not exist, the name did not exist, the badge, nothing. So we needed to call the attention of New Yorkers and tell them, we're here. Please, we want to be the team of this city. And that helped us. But after that, it's about playing good football and winning. And we choose the right players for that. The fact that young players are coming to the US is based on very simplistic things. First of all, America is a great country. It's a great place to live and work. That is clear, right? Second, the level of the league is improving, has improved a lot. The level of the coaching has improved a lot. So it's a good place to come and develop. And you can see it with the young Brazilian players that we have at NYCFC. In the past, they might have think, I'd rather go to Portugal or to the Netherlands. Now they think that this is a good place to play and to enjoy the football and to play in front of great crowds. but also to develop. And the proof is that some of these players develop here to be great players, or they go to Europe. And that system is working, and is attracting players. And quite frankly, if I would be a young player in, let's say, Costa Rica or even in Argentina, and I need to choose between going to a small league in Europe or to the MLS, I would choose the MLS.
Ferran Soriano, the CEO of Manchester City and New York City FC, and indeed an example for New York City would be Tati Castellanos,
Yes.
Joe Scally, players who developed and made their way to Europe. So, and I think there's no question that the coaching has elevated as well.
The coaching has elevated. The standard of MLS is definitely elevated. I don't think anything is, and I'm sure Soriano would say as well, it's not quite as cut and dried as do I choose between MLS or Belgium and France, or
Sure.
it's got to be between which team as well within those
Right.
leagues too. I think if you say going to Belgium and you're going to Bruges, or you're going to Genk or Ghent possibly, then you're going to go there instead of San Jose or Chicago Fire in the US. But if it's a lower team in France or Belgium, or it's LAFC or NYCFC, you come to MLS, and that's for certain. There's no such thing as choosing the league. It's got to be, again, as a player and as an agent and your player's family, doing your due diligence on the league and then the team within that league too.
That's New York City warming up to the right here at Soldier Field, where New York City will meet the Chicago Fire. Kickoff is 40 minutes past the hour. We'll be on the air in 4 minutes on the 4 minutes, Matty.
4 minutes.
On the New York City FC network, nycfc.com/radio, the New York City FC app, and also the TuneIn app. And I want to play one more thing from Jesse Marsh, the Canadian national team coach. Canada meets Uruguay in the third place match at Copa America. And we have just enough time to play this, but I thought it would be important to listen to see what Jesse thinks or thought of the CONMEBOL run Copa America.
Yeah, I saw, I didn't watch the whole press conference, but I saw some of Marcelo's comments. I agree with certain things, and then I disagree with certain things. For me, this tournament has not been professional for me. There's too many gaps in the treatment, in the overall experience from a day-to-day perspective. I watched what happened after the match, and certainly I didn't know all the details, but certainly we wouldn't want anyone's families or any players' families to be put in harm's way. But I know if Team Canada, if our team would have responded like this, that there would be heavy sanctions because of the treatment that we received in this tournament the whole time. We've had our players be headbutted. We've had racial slurs thrown at our players live and through social media, and not just the situation with Moyes, but the entire tournament from opponents' fan bases and from whether it's live or in social media. We've been treated like second-class citizens, and in the entire time, I've challenged our team to stay disciplined and stay focused on our task at hand, and to make sure that we represent ourselves and our country, because in the end, that's what this is. This is about representing your nation. You're on the national team, and our players have held themselves to the highest level of integrity. We've played hard. We've played aggressive. We've often been accused by the opposing coach before the match as a play to the referees that we crossed the line and that we're overly.
So I want to cut Jesse off there. There's about another half minute of that, but in essence, there are some issues, according to him, according to Marcelo Bielsa, and they are both going at it a little bit later on tonight. Well, Matty, the news tonight, Christian McFarlane makes his first MLS start for New York City FC. Their sixth homegrown. He's 17 years old. He'll be on the left. And for New York City FC, Burke Risa is back. He'll be on the bench, but a lot of injuries, including the regular starters, Tavon Gray and Kevin O'Toole. Well, we're going to present from start to finish. It starts with a pregame show, Nick Cushing, presented by Ford, and that's coming up in just a moment on the New York City FC Network. So for Matty Lawrence, I'm Glenn Crooks. Great to have you with us, and I hope you'll join us on the broadcast. Have a good night, everybody.